Welcome to the Redirect Podcast. My name is Abigail Humans.
And I'm Emily Rojas. The Redirect Podcast is a show where we shift the conversation back to books. We discuss themes from some of our favorite fictional books and how those themes show up in real lived experiences.
On today's episode, we'll be discussing books that we recommend reading during the month of October, or, as we refer to it throughout this episode, spooky season. So, Emily, what is spooky season? And what makes a book a spooky season read?
Great question. For me, it's the vibes, first and foremost. There's just that feeling when the sky is blue and the air is crisp and it's cold outside. It's a vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But spooky season, it doesn't have to be scary. I'm not a scary person myself. I'm not going to read something that's going to make me not be able to sleep at night, although It can be scary. But it could be suspenseful. It could have some kind of supernatural element. Like, think of the things you dress up for as Halloween, which is monsters, werewolves, etc. It could be some kind of mystery, which is probably my favorite personally. Or it could just be, like I said, vibes set in the fall. What would you say are like your favorite type of spooky season books?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I like a book that is evocative of fall and Halloween season. So maybe it's something that is like directly correlated with fall, like something magical or mystical, like something that's kind of Halloween-y. Or maybe it's just a book that's set in the fall and there's a strong sense of time and it's, the point of view character is like talking about going to football games or like experiencing crisp air or going, whatever, like
crunchy leaves under feet.
Something that you want to read when you have like a fall candle lit, a mug of hot beverage. But I think to emphasize your point, spooky season books are not limited to one genre. They can span genres. So it could be a romance. It could be a historical fiction, fantasy, crime, horror.
Anything.
Yeah.
And I think for me too, like, the fall is so fleeting here in the American South. It's hot for way too long and then it's instantly cold somehow for us, cold. I'm going to say 50 degrees is cold and 40 degrees.
Yeah.
So you really have to like make the most of it. And so I think a good spooky fall book really helps that season feel even more rich when it is so brief. So it can be any kind of book.
I think for honestly, most people in most regions of America, to be honest with you, are experiencing fall really as nostalgia. It doesn't really have that much to do with the weather. It's just like a time of year when you get to be happy about something.
That, magical time of year when happiness is attainable.
And it's not like actively sweating constantly. I mean, I live in Southern California now. There's really I'm learning there's basically two seasons, like cold season and hot season, or cool season and hot season. It doesn't feel like fall outside, but It's starting to be less hot, and Halloween is coming no matter what.
Yes.
So
let's experience it in our minds, if not in reality.
If this is going to give me a little serotonin, then fine.
Yes.
I don't want to get technical about, this is in Vermont. If you live in Vermont and you're listening to this, I'm happy for you.
Yes.
I hope that this amplifies your experience. So what we're going to do is, Emily, you and I will go back and forth and kind of draft our team members for some of our favorite spooky season books. And in some of our episodes, we've been more liberal about spoilers or openly discussing books. This will be a spoiler free. So these are just kind of recommendations, summaries, what we liked about it and what we would recommend.
So
I'll kick it to you, Emily. Do you want to kick it off?
Oh, sure. Okay. I'll start off by saying this was very difficult to narrow down. I love a good mystery. That's most of what I read.
You love a thriller.
I love a thriller. As we have established on this show. So I had a long list, but I have narrowed it down to 3 that I think fit, I think if you're listening to this, no matter what type of book you like, you will find something in the 3 books I picked. So
wow,
my
pop
first, bold statement, but I'm going to shoot for it. My first choice is a series. And I was actually torn between multiple series by this author. I think everything she writes is spooky season, but it is The Wolves of Mercy Falls, the series. It's Shiver, Linger, Forever. It's a trilogy.
Yes, Lord.
Yes, and we have
Yes.
actually discussed this in a future episode that you haven't heard yet, but we'll go into a little more of the romance in this book. But by Maggie Stiefvater, it is a supernatural romance. So it is a YA book, so it's a young adult. It's a little easier read, nothing too, explicit. So it's a very nice, lovely fall read. It's set in a small town, which contributes to the fall vibes. And our main character works in like a little cozy bookshop, which is just a vibe. Like I feel like I can
Oh my
picture the
God.
bookshop in this
Yes.
series. So the premise basically is that Grace, the main character, she has experience when she's a child where she's bitten by a wolf in her backyard and survives, but she kind of maintains this fascination with the wolves that she sees. She constantly sees them or hears them behind her house. And especially one wolf, she kind of focuses in on who has yellow eyes and she like feels a deep connection to him, but doesn't really know why. So then you find out that that wolf is actually Sam, a man, werewolf man. And essentially the deal is, if a human is bitten by one of these wolves, they become a werewolf. They transition into being a wolf when it gets cold. And then they are able to be human during the summer, warmer months. But essentially that period gets shorter and shorter as they age, and eventually they will become wolves permanently and lose their humanity. So it's a real, impending doom. Um, but Grace and him eventually meet as he's in his human form, and they're kind of fighting against the wolf within him. I think what makes this so fall to me is that emphasis on the changing seasons because Sam changes as it gets colder. So the fall is like a very real character because it's kind of
Ooh.
it's what's haunting him, like as the
Yeah.
thing we like, the air gets cooler, it's not 90 degrees anymore, is the thing that
And
is
it's
putting his,
foreboding.
yes, it's very foreboding. So I really love that, even though a lot of it does obviously take place in the summer. I just think the setting and the impending doom of the fall kind of plays a main role in this series. So it's a very great series. It's nicely wrapped up in a trilogy. I think if you're a fan of a supernatural romance, this is a really sweet love story. I feel like they have a great relationship. One of, the few YA romances. I believe in them. I believe in their relationship. So I would really recommend this. And again, anything by Maggie Stiefvater. She has a few other series, and they're all very spooky and very great. I love her.
Amazing. I love that you picked that. When I first read those books, it was in high school and it was the summer.
Mm,
But I kind of, as you say this, I kind of regret that. And I wish I had read them in the fall because with the fall playing like I'm such an important character in
I
the
know.
series.
It kind of puts you in it's immersive if you read it in the fall. But I kind of wanted to reread them after writing this. I'm like, it's been,
Yeah,
like you
I
said,
know,
I read
right?
these in high school. It's been many years, but they're sitting on my shelf right next to me. And so maybe this fall I'll have to reread this series to
Yeah,
remember
crack it open.
all that happens. Yeah. What is your first book that you have selected for us?
Well, so I'll give a quick intro. I accidentally, the three books I picked, accidentally all have to do with witches in some way. So sorry, oops. But these really were the three I
It's a
wanted to pick, and
vibe.
I thought, okay, whatever, it's fine. So, but they all have to do with witches in very different ways. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give that as a caveat. So, my first book is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. This book, oddly, is classified as horror. It was in the horror section of my bookstore, but in my opinion, there's really nothing horrifying about it. It's not the kind of scary that's going to make you not be able to go to bed at night. It's just a little spooky, a little unsettling at times. So our main character, Annie, who lives in Manhattan, gets dumped by her boyfriend and decides to leave New York City to accept a teaching job in a small town in upstate New York. So, upstate New York, beginning of the school year, fall, crisp, small town, farmer's market, local coffee shop. This is our vibe. So things start up going off really well. She has this really cute apartment. Mine is an issue in the apartment. There's persistent spiders popping up everywhere. And soon Annie meets a new friend, Sophie, who everyone in town seems to be afraid of or weirded out by. She's kind of an outcast. Sophie is unusual. She is very confident and outgoing, dresses kind of spectacularly, and she really takes a liking to Annie and wants to help her live unapologetically. It's not long until Annie starts wondering if there's something different about Sophie and what that different thing might be. So, I would say the vibe or aesthetic of this book, it's witchy. It's mulled wine. It's misandry. It's velvet capes, wearing lots of rings on your fingers, deep purple lipstick, natural long hair. That would be like my aesthetic of this book. It's a really fun fall read. It's very feministy. It's a little bit spooky, but it really is not scary. And I love it, and I want to read it again this fall. It's so good. I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Yes, you sent this book to me actually last fall, and I fully agree with you. It is maybe the spiders is what makes it horror. That's for me. I know I would be
Maybe.
horrified if I
I
saw
would be
some of the
horrified by
spiders.
that, yeah.
But yeah, I'm not as scary. I'm a wimp. I cannot handle anything scary, and it is not scary. But it is.
Yeah.
There's a little suspense, and it's a little bit, weird, creepy. But
Unsettling.
unsettling is a great word. But
It's not
it's
horrifying.
fun. It's also fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, what's your next book?
Okay, stick with me here because it's a little unconventional. I'm gonna go. It is the
Oh,
classic,
God.
The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So just to explain, I have a backstory, a personal thing with this book. It goes back deep. I was assigned this book in class in 10th grade by a horrible English teacher. She was the worst. But she did introduce me to this book, and we kept telling her time and time again, Miss Blank, redacted, we are not going to have time to finish this book. It's freaking 1,000+ pages long, and you have assigned this to us in April, and obviously we are not going to finish it. But she didn't listen. And so I started it, and I felt like I wanted to finish it all the time, and I would start it and put it down, start and put it down. Finally, this year, for the first time, I read it all the way through, and it is, in my opinion, the ultimate spooky season book. So if you don't know, The Count of Monte Cristo, it starts off featuring Edmond Dantes on the eve of his wedding to his love of his life. He's young, I think 19 years old. But because of some people conspiring against him, who are jealous of his success, and for various personal reasons, there's 3 different individuals who come together and falsely accuse him of treason, frame him, and he is arrested and imprisoned. And his family eventually believes that he has been killed. So he spends decades in prison, which gives him a lot of time to plot his revenge. He's sentenced to life, or doesn't seem to be a lot of due process in this time period, but he seems to be in there for life. But eventually he makes his escape, and over the course of, not exaggerating, decades, he enacts his revenge. And I think this book has everything you want in a spooky season. It's set, like I said, it takes place over decades, but it feels like it all takes place in the fall. There's murder, there's revenge, there's passion, there's duels, there's very spooky vibes. Edmund is a drama king. He has countless disguises and aliases, like going around dressed up as different people. The setup for this book is super long. Like I said, it is, I think, around 1,200+ pages, but the payoff is incredibly worth it. And I think what's great about this book is it is an accessible classic. It did take me a long time to get through it, but it's not hard to read. It's just long. And so I think if you want, for me, I tried to read Moby Dick when I was in elementary school. I don't understand why I did that. But there are a lot of books that I've never been able to read because I feel like a lot of classics are like, I do not understand this English. But this, I learned actually in research for this episode, it was originally written as like a series in a magazine. So it was kind of like chapter by chapter he was writing, which explains a lot because some chapters are kind of self-contained mini stories. But I think that makes it actually really readable because it is kind of broken up into these little vignettes. And so I think if you are someone who's like, I would love to read a classic older book, but I feel like I can't, it really is a very easy read, comparatively especially. And I think, it's just a very spooky book. And it's great. So, and there's the island of Monte Cristo plays a big role in it. It's kind of abandoned. There's buried treasure, so there's a lot of mystery, a lot of spooky, and obviously revenge. So I highly recommend it. It is daunting. I am sure I tried to look it up, people's opinions on the abridged version, but it's a bunch of like snobby people saying you should never read the abridged version. But I'm sure the abridged version is also fine. Like you'll probably miss some things, but I think, if you want to get your feet wet, I think that's a significantly shorter book. So there's always that option. And either way, or watch the movie. There's movie adaptations out there. But I'm begging for more people to get interested in this because I think personally, and I'm sorry, I'm going off here, but a BBC adaptation of The Count of Monte Cristo in a limited series, that is all I want in my life because the
Maybe you
existing
should write it. You should headline it.
I don't know about that. But the
Well,
existing
Emily, I have a question. If somebody was picking, like, if one of our listeners picked up this book and was like, okay, I'm going to try, and they get like 300 pages in and they're like, holy God, how am I ever going to make it? What is the word of encouragement you would give them to keep going?
That's a great question. I think it is so worth it. And I think if I had known that it was written as a magazine installment first, that might have helped me because I think sometimes you get into these chapters and you're like, I don't understand why he's going on this whole tangent. But if you can kind of look at those as like individual stories, they do come back to play a role later.
So think maybe you're reading, it's like reading 20 books.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I think just take it one chapter at a time and just know, I mean, seriously, my husband got so tired of me because he has read this book. He had read it before me. And I would be like, wait, what? Like I was gasping out loud, screaming. The setup is long, like I said, but that just makes the payoff so much more worth it. So if you're looking for something where you have to do a lot of front loading investment, but you're going to have your mind blown and be so shocked and just feel the most satisfaction you've ever read in a book, then I recommend giving it a try.
Wow, this isn't even working on me a little bit.
Hey, start with the abridged or the movie. Like I said, I think there's some changes that I've understood from the adaptations, but it still can be a spooky vibe even if you don't read the full original book. Okay, I'm
Are
done.
you so happy? Are you so content that you got a chance to talk about
I
the Count of Monte
know.
Cristo?
I'm like, how can I fit this into an episode? But yeah,
That's hilarious. Well, my next book is Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. So this is a fictional romance. It's set in October in a witchy Midwestern town that has like magical aura. So like imagine you're like a magical person, but your magic only works when you drive into this town. It's like a hub of magical energy. And it focuses around three female witches who were all hurt by the same man who is also a witch or warlock. And now they want to get their revenge on him by ensuring that he doesn't win this basically Triwizard tournament in their town that determines which magical family gets a magical boost of power for the next period of time. So it is fun, it is scheming, it's girl power, but it's also like really imaginative, and I feel like you can really like there's lots of like imagery that they describe of like the contests that they do, and like some of the witches like have the ability to like work with the elements, and so like there's these descriptions of things that they do with like the earth and the water, and it's like the main character, her family owns this like old witchy bookstore. But the other fun thing about it is like there are non-magical people who also live in this town, and a lot of like tourists who come to this town for the witchy vibes, even though it's like made up, like it's commercialized. Like capitalism really popped off. so, so it's just a ton of fun. It is like if Cackle is like mulled wine, this is like pumpkin spice latte with whipped cream.
yes.
It is like the most fun. So the vibe and aesthetic, I would describe Triwizard Tournament, cottagecore bisexual. The main character is bisexual. Sabrina the Teenage Witch, I would say, and a more grown-up version of Marnie from Halloween Town. So like Halloween Town vibes, but like PG-13 instead of like Disney Channel original movie. So this is my endorsement. Unlike Count of Monte Cristo, it's like 200 pages. You can read it in a weekend. It's a ton of fun. And uh, witchy vibes, but in a very different way than Cackle.
Yes. This is such a fun book. I loved it. It's super
Yes.
frothy, I feel
Would
like.
you agree that it is like the pumpkin spice
Yes,
latte
absolutely.
of
Or
Halloween
like a
books?
pumpkin spice cocktail or something, but like a
Yes,
fruity
maybe
one somehow.
maybe like a hard apple cider or
Yes.
something like that.
Yes, it's just fun, and it's the fun side of witches. So, if you were a witch, what would you want? Like, if you could only have one witch power, which would you choose?
Oh gosh, like classic like witchy power.
Yeah.
Um, I think I would want to like I think I would want to know how to make cool potions.
Ooh,
That like because I feel like if you know how to make cool potions, then that really like you can do so many things with that. And that's a very versatile. Like
that's
you can
so
make tons
true.
of different kinds of potions.
Yeah.
And then you could like bake the potions into like brownies or something and be like, "Here, you want a brownie?" to your enemy.
Yeah.
Then they have like I don't know, something
Boils.
bad happen to
Yeah.
them. Not that bad, but just kind of bad.
I think that's a good answer.
What about you?
I was gonna say flying on a broomstick just for the, ease of travel.
Yeah.
That would be fun. And,
And it's cool.
yeah.
Would you ride side saddle on the
I
broom
think that
or
would be more
fully grip?
comfortable. Like,
Side saddle?
yeah, a broomstick is not wide. So
Right.
I feel like it'd be a little cozier to side saddle it, maybe.
Nice.
Distribute the
Okay.
weight a little differently.
Would you have a broom like in Harry Potter where they have those little footholds on the
Oh,
back?
obviously, yeah. That
Yeah.
would be
Okay.
amazing.
I love that idea. Okay, Emily, what's your third book?
Okay, my third and final book is In the Waning Light by Laura Than White. It wouldn't be me if I didn't put a murder mystery in here. So, this is one of my favorite authors of thriller mystery books. I really like her. I mentioned her in our intro episode, I believe. But I think she used to be a romance writer, actually, or like maybe dark romance. Never read any of her books in that genre, but she kind of has recently done more of these like thriller, suspense books with like a twisty ending, which I like that combo because most of her books also have like a romance element, and this one is probably my favorite combo of the two that she has written. But I like that because I think you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, you get a romance without it being a romance novel.
Yeah, like it's not the main focus, so it's more interesting
Yeah.
sometimes, but it's still there, so you still get that like warm feeling, but with like a darkness. So, this book follows Meg Brogan, I think, and basically she has become this best-selling like true crime writer, and finally she kind of faces, she has money, she's famous, she even has a handsome, wealthy fiance, but she kind of has to go back and face her own history, and her own family members were murdered. I don't remember exactly what the murder was, like if it was just one family member, but anyways, so she has to go back and face her own family's basically murder mystery. And that's kind of difficult, obviously, if you're like a journalist, and then you have to face something so personal. And she has to go back home to this town that she swore she would never return to. But the person that's there waiting for her is her high school sweetheart, Blake Sutton. So
Gasp.
she kind of teams up with him, not first, platonically, but eventually romantically, to kind of figure out the truth about her past. So I love everything about this. As I've mentioned before, I think I love a book that like has the past and the present kind of colliding. And this book is really great because it is this old mystery that has never truly been solved. And then so you kind of get that flashback element, you get the high school sweetheart element. So it's like the past, but it's affecting the present. And she's trying to find out who the true murderer is. And it's that person does not want to be found out. So she faces kind of harrowing and frightening threats and, potential violence. So I really like that. There was a lot of suspects, I think. So there's a lot of people you think it could be, which I really appreciate. Because you don't really see the twists coming if there's a lot of people who are plausible, but it also definitely felt grounded in reality for the most part. And I think this author in particular does that really well. I don't love a twist that feels like it came out of left field. So I really like her twist because they're always like shocking enough, but also like you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense at the end. So I really like this book. There's again that small town element. I think the small town vibe is just fall. Even if
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know. Although
It's
there's
like
also like When Harry Met Sally fall, which is New York fall.
New York City.
So
There's
it's either if
yeah,
it's not New York City, it's got to be a small
it's small
town.
town. But there is no place in the fall aesthetic for suburban America.
No. And no one's like, an Atlanta fall, I dream of it. No one's putting that on Pinterest.
No,
Yeah,
no.
so it's that small town mystery, secrets, decades old secrets, but also that love, like again, the romance, which,
Yeah, that evokes fall too.
it
Like I think
does.
several, like almost all of the books, maybe all that we've mentioned so
Yeah.
far, have something to do with love. And I think it's like, what do they call it? Cuffing season.
I was just gonna
Like,
say.
yes, it's like, the whole thing about like you date all summer and it's like fun and you don't want to be tied down, but like fall is when you want to get snuggled up in a flannel, watch football, have a person, stop
Absolutely.
dating, stop being out there. And that's when I met my partner.
Yeah.
Fall.
And there's
Gotta
something about falling in love in
lock
the
it down.
fall. It's called
Oh, yeah.
fall. It's
Because you're not
destiny.
sweating as much.
You're not hot. You can go on
That is-
hikes. You can.
That genuinely is it. The activities are more romantic and you're not sweating. It's so hard to meet. If you sweat, if you're like me and you
Yes.
sweat like an
Amen.
inordinate amount, it's just like romance in the summer. It's not
Yeah.
happening.
Well,
It's
and you have
gross.
such a nice stretch. Like from like right now, the weather gets nicer. Then you have Halloween, which is just fun. You get to do
All
the
these holidays
costumes.
coming up.
Yes, and then it's Thanksgiving. Maybe you're bringing them to meet your family. Then you got
And you
Christmas.
exchange Christmas gifts.
Yes. So it's like it's
And then New Year's.
yes, it is like a key critical, and all that. Most of that is technically fall. Winter actually doesn't start until the end of December.
Like January.
Yeah, so like you have that chunk in the fall, so I think that's also why it's like ultimate fall in love. So yeah, I really recommend this book. It is a great read. Going back to that. And if you love true crime, I love a book, there's a few books I really like that kind of look at maybe like the other side of true crime, like maybe it is a true crime writer or podcast host or something like that. And so I think, or maybe even a person who's involved in something that's, the focus of the true crime community. So I think that's kind of cool to like have a fictionalized version of something that captures many of our attentions, which is true crime stuff, for better or for worse.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to, us extremely privileged white women have got to get our thrill somehow through. Yes, we need to chill. And we also have to get
Yes.
experience an edge in life
Yes.
by living out true crime.
So this is
which
like a fictional version.
an
It's not
epidemic.
hurting anyone. There's no
Yeah,
real
it's not hurting
victims.
anyone.
It's just
no
fun.
victims in this.
Yeah, I mean it's not fun. It's definitely a dark book, but just it is a great read. Okay.
Love that.
What's your last book that you have selected for us?
Well, this one is also about witches. It's called
Shocked.
The Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow. So if you haven't caught on by now, I am a historical fiction girly. And this is the most fun because it's kind of historical fiction, but also reimagined history, which is really fun. So this book is set in an alternate 19th century America, where the suffragette movement exists alongside a quest to restore magic and to the society, and to end the banishment of witches. So this is set in the town of New Salem after the town of Salem was burned after the expulsion of witches. And there is a contingency of women who have been passed down from their mothers and grandmothers, spells that are convinced that in order to boost women's power and alongside helping them get the vote and to kind of restore women to the role of like queens and empresses and things, they also in tandem need to restore their ability to perform magic. And that in their view, the oppression of women has come alongside with the banishment of women's magic. So, it's not that serious, though. What I just described feels like a lot. This is really great. It's really fun. It follows three sisters who they take turns being the point of view character. So from chapter to chapter, it'll be told from their different points of view. It is really fun and exciting, and you get that historical vibe where you feel like you're transported. Obviously, it's set in like Salem, Massachusetts, so it's like, I mean, I'm sure Salem is absolutely lovely in the fall. It's giving cold weather. And the fun thing about the magic in this book compared to the magic in the other books I've mentioned is that it is all kind of rooted in like fairy tales, and like there are spells that are like revealed in like Jack and the Beanstalk and like Sleeping Beauty, and like how like witches have been written out of those stories or like made to seem like evil when they really aren't.
Interesting.
And so the magic is less like malevolent, and it's more like this is just a power that anyone can tap into, and if they are willing to step into it. So the vibe and aesthetic, I would say, obviously, first wave feminism, suffragettes, folklore, I would say fairy tales, and also weirdly like proletariat vibes, like that scene in in the movie adaptation of Les Mis when they flash forward to the French Revolution and Gavroche is on the back of that cart, and he's like, what is the song he sings during that part? He's like, oh no, it's like they revive Look Down.
Thank your
yes.
poor. Thank your.
Follow me. Follow me. Yes.
Yeah.
Vive la France. Anyways, this is not set in France, and it's not even set in the same century as that. But it's like the vibe is like this is like this also is like tangential to unions somehow, and like there's all of these women that are being paid like pennies on the dollar to work in these factories 7 days a week. There are no unions stopping that from happening, and they're really being exploited and oppressed. And another thing I'll say about this is I think a lot of literature or media in general that is centered around the suffragette movement kind of forgets the fact that it's really problematic in the sense that white women like pushed out other identities from that movement because they wanted to better themselves. And this book acknowledges that and also uplifts the work of women of color who were also working that time for the vote, and does a better job of telling that story and being inclusive in that story. So
I think that's a cool
highly
part
recommend.
About like witchy or fantasy or magical books is you can kind of, because it's already magical, you can also kind of like right some wrongs of history or like tell the story in a better way. And it's not like, wow, that's so like woke, it's like, oh, it's already magical. So you can kind of tell those like marginalized people's stories also. Well,
this is related to books, but like, I don't know if you've been watching the Rings of Power show.
No.
I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings person, but Zach is. So I've been watching the Rings of Power with him. And my older brother's also really into Tolkien and the whole thing. And he was like telling me that there's all these like, you know, dude bros on like Reddit and stuff who are mad that they're the casting people of color as like elves and stuff. And I'm like, let's like restate that sentence. They're literally
Like,
elves.
this is fake. This is a fake
This
world.
is fake. This is literally a fantasy world. Why are we worried about this being
Yeah,
historically
like
accurate?
people can be anything.
Elves aren't real.
But I think what you're saying is these books can, you know, maybe do that in a good way as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a permission
'cause it's
structure to
fake.
be like, and also any sort. I love speculative fiction and like reimagined history
Yeah,
because it gives you the opportunity to tell a story that's not normally told, and it's not necessarily like biographical or whatever.
right.
It's fun. So really like it. I would say like. I guess my first two I related to a drink. So let's see. If the first one was mulled wine, the second one was pumpkin spice latte. I would say this is like a stiffly brewed cup of chai tea. It's like it's more academic. It's something that you want to sit in like a leather chair in a library and read.
I love it.
It's more that.
It sounds great.
It's more Ivy League. There you go.
Ooh. Well, I've never read this one, but I'm very interested in it. It sounds like a great
I'll
fall
send it
book.
to you.
Yeah, please do. All right, so I guess that's our conversation about spooky season books. So before we go, we decided to start a new segment where we're just going to quickly recap basically the book we've read most recently and give you a little mini review, mini recommendation. So Abigail, do you want to go first? What's your most recent read?
Okay. The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna.
Queen.
I knew I was
Friend
going
of
to
the
love
show,
this.
Kristen Hanna.
Kristen Hanna, if you're reading this, we'd love to have you as not reading. Kristen Hanna, if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you as a guest. But okay, I knew I would love this. I just knew I would. And I had it on hold at the library for forever, and it just wasn't happening quick enough, so I bought it. And wow. Okay. So, as we've established many times, I'm a historical fiction girly. This is a historical fiction book, much like some of her others, set in the 1970s, 1974, and 1979. There's a little bit of a time jump. It is about a family with a young girl and her parents. Her father is a returned Vietnam War veteran who is plagued by what he experienced during the war. He suffers from probably PTSD, among other things. And their family decides that they are going to escape some of the violence and scary things that are going on in the 70s. Like Ted Bundy was on the loose. Like there were, they lived in Seattle. There was like girls being kidnapped up and down the West Coast. And they decide they're just going to leave it all behind and move to Alaska, rural Alaska, to be homesteaders
Wow.
and live completely off the grid. And that, like, I knew this book would be good, but when I read that description, to be honest, I was like, that's not compelling. But Kristen, if you're listening to this, keep listening. Didn't mean to hurt your feelings. But it was absolutely, absolutely incredible, gripping. It's a long book. It's like 700 pages, I think. And I could not put it down. Like, I kept reading it. First of all, the imagery and the description of rural Alaska throughout the seasons is just, it paints this picture. It just transports you. The Kristen Hanna also, like, I feel like she really writes female characters well. And the relationship between the mother and the daughter in this book is just spot on. Like, it gives you something to root for. You have, like, there's highs, there's lows, there's some romance, there is coming of age. I cried my eyes out.
As
Like,
one does.
as
With
one
reading
does.
Kristen.
I knew that would happen,
Yeah.
and I was like, why haven't I cried my eyes out yet? And then I did. Anyways, it just left me feeling absolutely raw and like blown away. Like one of those things when I finished the book and I closed it, I had to have like a moment of silence to like ground myself. I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend it. It's really good. It's really good. Even if you're not a huge historical fiction person, I feel like I kept thinking, hey, my mom was about this age during, she was about the same age as
Yeah.
the main character during these years, like trying to imagine like someone I know living through that.
Yeah, that's like not that far removed history, so
I
that was
know.
not
Yeah,
that
it's
long
not.
ago. So it's kind of interesting.
I loved it. I loved it so much. 5 out of 5. It's one of my favorite books. Probably one of the best books I've read this year.
Wow.
Emily,
Okay.
what is a recent book you would like to recap?
Yes, I just read this book. I finished it Friday night. I was determined to finish it in September, so it would count towards my monthly monthly amount. But it is Upgrade by Blake Crouch, and if you've ever read any Blake Crouch, he writes super sciencey science fiction, so it's very heavy on the science. So if that's your thing, then I think you'll love anything by Blake Crouch. But this book um, is follows Logan Ramsey, and it's in like kind of a near future reality where it is possible to edit genes, so like the DNA of people or plants, animals. They have figured out the
Ooh,
technology to do that.
topical.
But yes, and Logan's mom actually was kind of this mega genius, leading expert in the field. But essentially, she had this attempt where she was trying to genetically modify locusts to carry a gene editing program, I guess, to plants around the world. And it would kind of fortify the plants and essentially end world hunger. That was her ultimate goal. The tests were looking great, but something goes wrong and it ends up setting off a global famine that kills millions and millions of people. Logan was a young, recent college grad at the time, and he served time in prison for helping her, but it was eventually pardoned. And um, as a result of her actions, it became illegal to edit genes at all, completely illegal. And Logan kind of, as after being pardoned and released from prison, he kind of puts himself through the self-inflicted penance for his what he considers to be his wrongdoings, working with his mom, and he works in like the law enforcement branch that's responsible for hunting down anyone who is illegally editing genes. But during a raid one night, he is attacked, and some shrapnel gets into his blood, and you come to find out that it was laced with some kind of gene editing target. I don't know what you would call that, a program, a virus. And
Yeah.
he starts to experience these changes. First, he
Oh
notices he's
gosh.
beating his daughter at chess, which he's never been able to do. He's remembering more things. His
Is it like
bones.
super soldier serum,
Yes,
like from
it
Captain
is like super
America?
soldier serum to the max. So he slowly becomes more than human, essentially, and can recall every day of his life with perfect recollection. He knows many things. He can understand, improbable things. He is
Like Jason
physically,
Bourne, kind of.
yes, he's physically extremely strong, almost indestructible. And turns out, his sister is kind of out there. They team up. I won't spoil anything, but it comes down to a fight for humanity.
Oh wow.
and to save the world. And so I love Blake Crouch because I feel like he writes these like sweeping, epic, like world, global scale stories that are very science heavy, but also like it's also like about a complicated mother-son relationship,
Oh wow.
complicated sibling relationship.
Maybe Blake Crouch put some of his own
I know.
maybe
I was wondering
maybe
that. I'm like,
what's his relationship with like I
yeah,
always wonder that about authors when
me
they have
too.
like I'm
Would it
like,
feel so real
what are you
sometimes?
drawing upon?
Yeah. Well, and this depiction of his, Logan's relationship with his wife was really sweet, and I thought it felt real. Like sometimes I think this is a small part of the book, but I feel like sometimes relationships can either seem like too amazing in books or like too terrible. But I felt like his relationship with his wife and his daughter, like it was just a very nice, well-written, sweet family dynamic. But it's also like this crazy story about fighting to save the world and gene
Yeah.
editing. So I
Yeah.
think I think that's a really great quality about Blake Crouch's writing is the other books I've read by him are very similar. Like it's this huge global catastrophe-like story, but he doesn't get lost and like the small details still come through. So if you're really into like science-y sci-fi, again, it is kind of heavy on the science, but I really recommend this book. It's a 5 out of, actually I gave it 4.5 out of 5. Um, but it was a great read.
Yeah, you gotta save 5 out of 5 for Count of Monte Cristo.
Obviously.